The most dangerous kind of manipulation is the kind that doesn't feel like manipulation at all. It feels like love. It feels like attention, affection, somebody choosing you loudly, enthusiastically every single day. And this is why it's so hard to see it coming. I had a client who came to me recently who had gone through an experience like this, and I want to walk you through her experience beat by beat because I'm sure you know somebody who has been through this exact kind of experience, and maybe it's been you. But what she experienced has a name. It's called love bombing, and by the end of this video, you're never going to confuse it with love again. Welcome back, guys and gals, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jess. I'm a relationship coach, and I help you become the woman who naturally attracts the relationship and life you desire by raising your self-worth, your feminine confidence, and your standards so you become an exact match to the love and life you want. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I would love for you to stick around and hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. This is literally what we work on every single week together. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about one of my recent clients who had experienced this love bombing situation. And so we were able to talk it out and work it out. And this is why your self-love and making sure that you have high self-worth is so important, especially when you are out dating and trying to attract your dream partner, trying to attract and find your life partner. So my client, she met a guy, and in the beginning, he seemed perfect on paper. He was attentive, he had excellent communication, he was affectionate, but all of a sudden it just started to get a little bit overwhelming. It started to get to be a little bit too much. And she kept having this inner voice that was popping up inside of her, telling her like, whoa, 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 this is happening really fast. Because all this happened within the span of like the first 3 or 4 days. And so I wanna walk you through her experience today because I think it's so important to note and to be able to discern like what is love bombing, and then what is a guy who's actually interested? Like, what does that actually look like? Because love bombing can be so dangerous because it actually mimics what we're told to look for in a partner. And it mirrors this romantic fantasy of this attentive, perfect guy, when really there's a lot of underlying things that are happening, and it's really a manipulative situation. So first and foremost, we're gonna dive in here and I'm gonna go over what exactly is love bombing. What is love bombing? Love bombing is not just someone who's super into you. It's actually a psychological manipulation tactic where a person overwhelms a new partner with this overwhelming attention and affection and enthusiasm and communication very, very early on. So it can happen like day one, it can happen within the first week, it can happen over the course of the first few weeks, but it's done to gain influence and control over the relationship. There's something I do want to make note of here, and it's that love bombing is not always meant to be malicious. Sometimes love bombing is done by somebody who is really anxious and who hasn't learned secure attachment. So they truly believe that more is better, and the more affection they give somebody, the less likely they're able to leave. This is why it's so important to know the difference between love bombing and somebody who is genuinely interested in you. It allows us to be discerning because remember, we want to be making aligned decisions for ourselves, for the life that we want to live. We want to be able to ask, like, does this person that I'm seeing right now, does that person align with the life I want to create, with the woman I want to become? And so that's why self-love and self-worth is so important. It is truly the foundation for the relationship and life you desire, which is why I do offer one-to-one coaching, and I work with a select few of women at a time. So I will leave my book a call link in the description below if you're a woman who's ready to become the woman who naturally attracts the relationship and life you desire and go on a beautiful 8-week journey with me. I will leave my link below so you can book a free call. We can chat, see where you're at, see where you want to be, and see if we're a good fit to work together. According to psychological experts, love bombing happens in 3 phases. Now, I took these 3 phases and I kind of separated them out into months just so we can kind of see on a clear timeline how these play out. So there might be, give or take a few days or whatever it is, but as we go through this, I think that you will begin to recognize, what this can look like in a relationship. So phase 1 is the idealization phase. And I put this at that 0 to 1 month time because that's typically when the first parts of that love bombing experience really happen. It can happen day 1, it can happen in the first few days, the first few weeks. It just depending on the situation. No 2 situations are the same. So during this stage, this is where the person puts their new partner on a pedestal and they will shower them with compliments. They will be overly communicative. This is where we start to get all of those overwhelming things of attention and affection. They might start using language like, "You're my twin flame, you're my soulmate, you're the love of my life." They'll start to talk about marriage, those kind of things. Maybe a lot of future planning happens there, but it's really to kind of get you into this position of like, wow, this person seems awesome. He really is showing me all of this attention and affection. And again, this is why it's so dangerous, just because this form of showing love, the love bombing, is actually mirroring that romantic fantasy and actually also mimicking what we're told to look for in a partner. So it can get really, really confusing. But the key word here is overwhelming. If you are feeling overwhelmed, the pace is going way too fast, like you don't feel safe moving this fast, then those are 2 signs that you are being love bombed. The second phase is called the devaluation phase. And I put this at months 1 to 3, give or take. So this is the phase where now your boundaries, your standards have lowered, you've been showered with all of these compliments, all this attention, affection, lots of future planning has been happening. They've promised trips or, marriage or whatever it is. So now your boundaries and standards are much lower. And then all of a sudden that person's mood, their whole persona will shift and they'll start to pull away from you. It's kind of like, okay, I gotcha kind of a thing. And this is where that manipulation can really happen because they start to gaslight you. They start to make you feel bad for no reason at all. And you find yourself kind of walking on these eggshells, trying to win them back, trying to win that affection back because there was so much of it in the beginning. You're like, oh, I just want to get back there. That felt so good, even though that is your brain playing a little trick on you. And so this is why having high self-worth and loving yourself unconditionally becomes so, so important, because we don't want to be walking on eggshells. You need to understand that you are worthy just as you are, and nobody should be able to make you feel less than in any capacity. So the third and final phase is the discard or control phase. And I put this at the 3+ month mark. So this is the phase where your guard is totally down and you're still just coming out of that second phase where you're walking on eggshells, you're trying to get that love back, and this person completely ghosts you or discards you because you're no longer useful to them, or they'll flip and try to be controlling and guilt you into submission so that you have total dependency on the relationship. So today we're going to talk about the idealization phase, the phase that happens early on, because I want you to really be able to nip this in the bud on your partner journey if you ever encounter anything like this. And again, it is so important that your self-love is high, your self-worth is high, because that's where we're able to make aligned decisions for our future selves, for the life we want to create. And this whole love bombing, it really makes it really tricky because it mimics what we're told to look for in a partner: the consistency, the attention, the communication, the choosing you, the making the future plans, giving you compliments, making you feel so good. But there is a huge difference between somebody who genuinely cares about you and somebody who is trying to create dependency in the relationship. And that difference really is figured out when you set boundaries with another person. So my client started talking to this man, and they started out just talking on the phone to get to know each other before going out on their first date. And so he was calling her, which was so nice. He had great communication. He was being attentive. He was showing affection. But then the calls kind of got to be a a little bit more than the norm. You know, it wasn't just like a call a day. It started to be calls throughout the day. And at first, in the very beginning, she kind of liked it because she was like, oh, okay, he's interested in my life. He wants to know how I'm doing. You know, they were really getting to know each other, which was great. But then it started to really disrupt her life, where she would be at work or with her kid, or she would be just trying to do things in her life that she needed to do, and she would constantly be having calls with him. And so she started to feel like it was getting to be a little bit too much. And so she told him very kindly and politely, like, hey, you know, I love talking to you, but it's just a little bit too much right now because, you know, I have work during the day and then I with my kid and I'm got things going on in my life. So I love talking to you every day, but maybe just not as much every single day. We can like pause till the end of the day for our calls. And so she set her boundary, and that's so important. That was the first boundary that she had to set with him. And so what happened after that really started to tell the story of what was really going on here, because at first he kind of respected it, you know, made her feel a little guilty, a little jab about it, but you know, he started to respect it. But then after a day or so, he went back to doing the same behavior. And so she kind of had to keep reminding him, like, you know, look, I'm glad you're so interested. You know, I'm interested in you too, but we just got to slow it down. This is going a little bit too fast for me. A man who is genuinely interested in you will hear your feedback and he will not take it personally. He'll be like, oh, whoa, okay, I was timid, a little strong. I'm excited, you know, like I can pull it back a little bit. Whereas somebody who is love bombing you as a form to try to control you or create dependency in the relationship, they might get a little bit moody. They might get a little bit angry. And so she was starting to get little tastes of this very early on. And so this brings me up to the first red flag that I want to bring to the attention here is this overwhelming communication. And then when you set that boundary, even if it's like a little jab with a laugh or whatever it is, it's still not respecting the fact that you said this is too much. And then going back to the same behavior of continuously calling and disrupting your day. So not even ending up listening to you. So the first red flag, overwhelming communication. And then when you set the boundary, there's an attitude that comes with that where they might be angry or they might give you a little jab about it. So this is them trying to create that control or dependency, not trying to create that connection. Now we're at the point where he wants to plan the first date. We love a man with a plan. We love a man who wants to plan the first date. Yes, please. So he got tickets to a show and he invited her to go to the show with him. And she said yes. She was very excited. She said it was really thoughtful because she was going to really enjoy the show. She was really looking forward to it. But then he kind of slipped something else in there. He said, okay, well, I'm coming up Saturday, so why don't I just come up Friday first? And that way we can have like a date and meet each other before we go to the show. And at first she said yes. She thought it'd be nice to get to know him. But then after thinking about it, she's like, wow, that's actually kind of a lot. Like, I don't know if I really want to go on that first date before the original date that they wanted to go on. So that brings me to red flag number 2, because this is where they kind of push these urgent commitments on you, where it's like, there's no reason to stack 2 dates in a row. And she was also confused with like, okay, why are we going to be going on 2 dates in a row together? And so when they are pushing these commitments on you and making you make these decisions like really quickly, it's a way to control you and to say yes to them and kind of be more on their schedule. So after thinking about it, she let him know that, you know, she didn't want to go on the 2 dates. She just wanted to go on the original one. It's, you know, the end of the week. She has life to catch up on. She has things to do. She needs some time for herself. So she wasn't going to be able to make that first date, but she still wanted to go on the original date and she was still looking forward to it. And so this was also in between like his level of communication being so overwhelming and his attention being so overwhelming that she was just overwhelmed in general. And so when she told him that, he actually gave her a hard time about it. So this brings me to red flag number 3, which is this continued push of future plans and, you know, marriage, future trips, all those things to try to lock you down. And so that is not a good sign, especially if you have not even met in person yet. This also brings me to our red flag number 4 with the inability to respect your boundaries. So she set multiple boundaries in this story so far, and he has not really taken them well at all. And mind you, we're just within the first week of them talking, not even dating, just talking. So if a man cannot respect your boundaries, that is something definitely to take a hard look at, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if the boundaries are not being respected now, they will not be respected in the future. So I want to talk a little bit about the neuroscience behind this, because as you can tell in the story, there's a lot of push-pull going on. And it's not your fault if this is happening to you too. It's literally your brain being activated. So what love bombing does is it triggers a stress response in your brain. And that stress response triggers dopamine and cortisol, and it floods your system at the same exact time, which is why you can feel both anxious and excited. And you're feeling this like push-pull internally, like your judgment is cloudy, you're not sure how you should be feeling, you think it's good, but like other parts don't feel good. So this is something to really take into consideration and listen to. And this is really important, where if you follow the self-love series, you know that regulation and regulating your nervous system so that we can calm down our amygdala, which is what is looking for danger. We can calm our amygdala down and turn our prefrontal cortex, our CEO of our brain, back online, just so that we can be discerning and make these good decisions. So now we're at the point in the story where she is going on the date. And remember, it was Saturday, she was excited for it. It was a show, she got to get dressed up, and she was excited to meet him in person because, maybe it was just a bad first impression, giving him the benefit of the doubt. But she went on the first date and it started off lovely. And then they went to dinner, and he brought up the night before how she backed out on going on that initial date with him. And he started to make her feel really guilty and say like, oh, my friends think that, that was lame or whatever he was saying, but he was bringing up his friends, they had an opinion on it. And it kind of became this running joke for the night. And it was making her uncomfortable because now she felt guilty, even though she had no reason to feel guilty, because she put herself first, which is the most important thing. And so it just kind of became like an undertone of the entire night for them. And along with that, he also kept throwing out these future plans with her. I want to do this in July with you. I want to buy these big tickets. I want to go on this trip. I want to plan this and that. And so while he is also kind of dangling this carrot of making these future lavish plans, he's also guilt tripping her in tandem with that. And that is like a really big push-pull feeling that you have on a date. So at one point you're excited, like, oh, that sounds fun. And the other point you're like, but wait, you're making me feel like crap. Like, why am I feeling these two different ways? So they had just met. This is their first date in person, and he is making her feel bad while also trying to make these big lavish future plans. So this future planning, it also has a name when somebody is doing this to you while they're love bombing you, and it's called future faking. And it is creating this vivid, grandiose future plan with you, and it's meant to kind of trap you, meant to make you feel dependent and like, oh, well, if I leave them now or we don't go on a second date, I won't be able to get this. And so that is building a relationship based on dependency and control, not someone being genuinely interested in building a future with you. So I'm so proud of her because she has been on this self-love journey and raising her self-worth. And shortly after this night, she completely broke it off with him. She knew right when she left that date that it was not a match for her, and she didn't look back when she did it. And so that is what high self-worth can do for you. Maybe you get love bombed in the beginning, but you can be discerning and understand okay, no, this is not how I want to feel. This is not aligned with my future self, with the life I want to create. This is why self-love is so important, especially when it comes to attracting your life partner, because you have to know what you want. And you have to know who you are. You have to have high self-worth so that you can be discerning and ask, does this person align with the life I want to create? Does this person align with the woman that I want to become? You have to be able to set boundaries and keep your standards high and make decisions that don't come from a place of fear, lack, or scarcity. Look for consistency over that intensity. Love gradually builds. It won't be dumped on you day one. It will gradually build over time. So make sure that their actions align with their words. Actions always speak louder than words. We know this. But this also includes if they are saying one thing and even making you feel a different way, that push-pull. So if they're saying, we're going to do all these lavish things, we're going to get married, I love you, all this stuff, but then they're doing other things that are making you feel overwhelmed or guilty or obligated in any way. You are not ungrateful for wanting a pace that feels safe to you. And you are not too picky for wanting to get to know somebody before jumping in with both feet. You are a woman who knows her worth, and that is everything. That's it for this video today, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that painted a really clear picture for you for the difference between love bombing and what true, genuine interest and love is. So when you are out on your partner journey and you are attracting and creating the relationship and life you desire, you can be discerning and remember your self-worth, keep those standards high, and always ask, does this situation align with the life I want to create and the woman I want to become? So if this video resonated with you, please like and subscribe. And if you found this helpful, please share with another woman that you think may need to hear this today. And if you are interested in one-to-one coaching with me, I will leave my book a call link in the description below so you can book your free relationship call with me. We can chat, see where you're at, see where you're meant to be, and see if we're a good fit to work together. And remember, self-love isn't optional. It's a foundation for the relationship and life you desire. I'll see you in the next video.